Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Welcome back, everyone. This is the Produce Moms Podcast, and my name is Lori Taylor. I'm the founder of the Produce Moms, and I love hosting this show, and today's no exception. This is somewhat of a special edition. We are connecting with a gentleman whose family is just like their whole heritage is in farming, and specifically a tomato products company. And I'm so thrilled to welcome Colt Reichart. He is fourth generation leader of his family's tomato products company, Red Gold, and he's honoring the history and traditions of Red Gold while growing the family of brands and helping to develop new, better for you products. So under Colt's leadership, some things that have happened is Red Gold brands were the first tomato brands to be packed in non-BPA, BPS lined cans and to be certified by the Non-GMO Project in both retail and food service. And he's redesigned all of their branded labels to unveil a cleaner, easier to read format using a new icon system that is also trademarked. So we're talking 23 product categories, 389 various combinations of flavors and cuts. There's 44 containers and sizes. So truthfully, like anything that you could think of in the tomato products category, Red Gold is your full service provider of that. And what a joy to welcome fourth generation leadership, Colt Reichart, to the show today. Colt, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're really glad that you're here. So tell us a little bit more about the family business and your role with it.
Yeah. In 1942, my great grandfather, Grover Hutchison, started Red Gold again. He'd owned 13 canneries in his lifetime, but every town really had a cannery during that time period. Tomatoes couldn't travel very far and they were all hand-picked. So it was kind of not really a big deal. But when he'd already retired and when World War II broke out, they asked citizens, if you're not in the war, we need you to supply the war. And so he reopened a canning factory. It had been burned down and I think hit by a tornado twice. So it had a boiler room and that's about it. So he makeshift the factory together. Wow. And then started supplying whole peeled and tomato puree and juice to the troops. And then from there, we just became known for our quality. If we're going to do it, let's do it right. And from then on, we just kept gaining more and more business, and then it became into it. I don't think anyone planned on that happening, but.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. And wow, what a brand and portfolio you have built. The Red Gold ketchup is the only ketchup that can claim it as American owned, grown, and made. That's amazing accomplishment. And I spoke briefly in the intros about some of the innovation that's occurred specifically under your leadership, Colt, but one thing that we didn't mention is all the new licensing that you're doing. Pretty exciting stuff with what you've got going on there. And one thing that I also love that I have to bring up because it is so, this is just like industry standard with family-owned farming operations and agricultural companies. Colt in his bio, something I should have said at the top of the show, your first job, Colt, sweeping floors, reconditioning barbecue sauce, or manning the bottle washing station at the Red Gold Elwood facility when you were 8 years old.
Yeah. My mother hadn't obviously, she was she had a music degree. And at the time, my dad's like, I need you to go to Elwood. We just purchased that facility and learn how to make ketchup and run that operation. And so I was over there a lot. So was my older brother. Red Gold was our second babysitter. And so we got to, get our hands dirty. And I think my mom said, I don't think I did a very good job at sweeping the floors at 8, but I knew everyone's name.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, and my goodness, what a great family heritage you all have built with Red Gold. And tell us a little bit more about all of the brands under the Red Gold umbrella, so to say.
Yeah. So Red Gold comes from Trafalgar, Indiana. So before we were Arestis Canning Company, and my grandfather wanted a brand of his own. Red Gold in Trafalgar went out of business in the 70s, and they purchased that brand. I think it was a pretty small brand at the time, but we liked it, and it was also known for quality. So it was a good start. We started, packaging various products under that. And then in the year 2000, we acquired Red Pack and Tudoroso brands along with Sacramento Juice. So those are three more brands of ours. Red Gold and Red Pack are primarily the exact same product. Whether you're on the East Coast, you will see Red Pack. And if you're, west of Ohio, you'll see Red Gold. Kind of like Carl's Jr. and Hardee's,
Right,
right. And then Tudoroso is our Italian brand. It's the number one Italian-inspired brand in the country. Sacramento is known more in the food service business as like the premier tomato juice. We've also licensed out Hoi Fung Sriracha, and we're making Sriracha-based tomato products, and those are extremely successful. We just started our Redneck Riviera barbecue sauce launch with John Rich, and that's going very well. And the newest brand would be Tomato Love that we just launched this year, and that's a 10-ounce green, tomatoes and green chili style product, and just got picked up by Kroger nationwide and won the American Packaging Design Award.
That's great. Well, congratulations. So needless to say, folks, you can find Red Gold products anywhere and in so many different, brand lines, flavors, and options. So this is exciting stuff. Now, Colt, the reason you and I are coming together for this, special edition podcast is because there's been a lot in the news lately about ketchup. And I'd really like to utilize you. I mean, your bio and everything you've shared thus far, I mean, your company is right in the mix of what's happening right now with ketchup. And who would have thought that ketchup would become a popular subject in mass media? But there's been a ton of talk about a national ketchup shortage. Please share your thoughts and take on this.
So, out of the blue, obviously channels have shifted and it's been difficult to navigate through COVID. Red Gold has always done a really good job just because we were formed, our company was formed, based around chaos with the war. And so we've always kind of been on our tippy toes and never on our heels. With that, the channels have shifted. Ketchup, in this instance, for food service, a lot of the food service business, tanked, but pieces of the food service business then excelled, which one being packets. With that, Heinz launched that press release saying there's a shortage, which is true on packets. The press release should have said there is a package shortage, not a ketchup shortage, because it is far from a ketchup shortage. But at the end of the day, we're here and we're supplying, we're running at full speed. We've been running 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, since this started, before this started. So we've been very prepared.
Right. So you have plenty of ketchup.
We have plenty of ketchup for everyone.
Okay. All right. And so are you able to still produce the packets or? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
so
we're producing. We just bought even more machines. We put several packet machines in even prior to this, during this, and we're planning on putting more in. And so they can't run any faster.
Right. And I think as you're saying this, people can connect the dots, but folks, to kind of bring it to the real, just real life application here. When you're dining out at restaurants, ketchup bottles on the table, many restaurants are choosing to utilize only ketchup packets or the surge and carry out dining in the food service sector. That's another example where ketchup is still being served in food service, but in a carry out format. So it's packets. So
we've also launched several other items to kind of help, I mean, there's only so many products, or so many packages you can make on that line, but there are other lines where we're making dunk cups and single serve options to fulfill those needs, as well as trying to bring bottles back, tabletop bottles.
Right.
When Heinz said that there's a ketchup shortage, I think what they should have just said is they can't keep up, is what they should have said. Right. Because, I mean, even on bottles, there's several customers now that are coming to us, for bottles. We just landed like 6 huge new accounts that were Heinz customers. So,
yeah. Very interesting. And I think it's probably important. We have a great blog on theproducemoms.com. The position of the FDA, as well as the agencies and the health and food safety agencies in Canada and Europe, their stance remains unchanged. COVID-19 does not spread by food or food packaging. So that would include things like a ketchup bottle. Okay. So it's important to bring that up. And we have a great blog that we'll backlink to in our show notes that was authored by a food scientist. And she talks about the science and reasoning behind that, as well as all of the different agencies around the world that are supporting that scientific state and point of view. So Colt, this is, this is really important that we set the record straight here. Another thing I really want to set the record straight with, as far as consumer understanding, I mentioned to you in our pre-show conversations that I had the opportunity to go out to California on a tour with the Pacific Coast Producers. They're a large canning operation in California. And I was surprised, even as someone who has spent my entire career in the fresh produce industry, I was surprised at how fresh canned and other tomato products really are. So I was hoping you could walk our listeners through how your tomatoes go from the field to the grocery store shelf. Yeah.
So obviously we have transplants, and we start our tomatoes inside a greenhouse and we transplant them. And then after, 100 days, we'll harvest those tomatoes. When they bring them in, there's the whole field. You pick it all at once with the machine, and they're all, you gotta have them all red at one time. And so these tomatoes are hybrids, and they're bred to have certain characteristics to make it through this process. Once they come in, we peel them and we designate them to whatever line whatever we're gonna do with them, whether we're gonna slice them or dice them or crush them or can them whole. They'll be designated to those lines. They've obviously gone through several quality checks by this point. In order to make it into the can, you have to be a perfect tomato. And then once they are in the can, you'll add topping juice, which is where you put your flavors. So if you want to add dice with green chilies, you're going to add your peppers into the flavoring and the juice and put it in that way along with your salt. So once they go in the can, you put the lid on it, and then you'll cook it. You'll cook it in the can for about 20 minutes over 200 degrees. And then as soon as you're done cooking, you need to get it into a cooler so it doesn't keep cooking. And once you do that, you have a hermetically sealed container. It's been sterilized, and it'll have a shelf life for several years.
Wow. And so it literally goes from the fields to the can in hours. I mean, is that an accurate statement?
Yeah. I mean, I've seen it go in there in 10 minutes because we have fields right here near our processing facilities. But yeah, I mean, at that point, there's really not much of a difference,
Right. And I will say, you mentioned the juices on top. My favorite is the Chipotle seasoned tomatoes. I absolutely love them. They make a great addition to any salsa or sauces that you're making at home. We actually have a recipe on the Produce Moms. Our Southwest salsa uses the Red Gold Chipotle seasoned tomatoes. And Colt, I got to ask you, I mean, you grew up with Red Gold. So what's your favorite way or your favorite product line? What's your favorite way to use them or your favorite product line?
I probably eat tomatoes every day. No joke. And I'm not counting all the tests, we do here. So a lot of times I'm brought in to taste test various products. And, but still, even in the evening, I usually make something with tomatoes. But I would say an easy snack for anyone would either be salsa with chips, which I just love. And Red Gold salsa, if you haven't had it, it's amazing. We use 3 different chilies in it. And it's just one of those things that's kind of like a hidden gem, until you try it, you're like, wow, I didn't realize salsa could taste this good. But an easy one to make is cottage cheese with any of your flavored petite diced items or diced items. Oh. So you just give yourself a little pile of cottage cheese, drain those tomatoes, and then give yourself a nice dollop in the middle.
That's amazing. I've never actually thought of that. I mean, and it's crazy because I've certainly served tomatoes or cottage cheese with tomato slices, but what an easy way to use your can't, like, it's such an easier application, and you're going to get so much great flavor just by, opening and draining that can.
Have you tried the Michigan brand cottage cheese?
Oh yeah. That's the only kind I buy, Colt.
Yeah, it's the best.
It is the best. Listen to us Midwesterners, folks. It is the best. Okay. So Michigan brand cottage cheese. And then what Red Gold, you have to have a favorite. I know it's probably like asking you to name your
tomato.
Favorite. Well, to put on that Michigan cottage cheese. Which one's your favorite?
I don't know. I rotate it so often. If you want to know, like, my favorite canned tomato products right now that I've been playing with would be, we have on our Tuderosa line, but I've been developing several still new products, and Red Gold will see some of this, but we have new flavored paste that is really good that'll be launching here this year. And so there's like basil and roasted garlic paste, but you wouldn't put that on cottage cheese. But we have these ones called Italian Inspirations on the Tuderosa line, and they're 14.5-ounce tomatoes, petite diced. And one's like a Southern Vineyard, and that's made with white wine. Another one is Tuscan. Another one's Northern Herb. And man, those things are just knockouts.
Okay. Well, add it to your grocery list, everyone. What a great, simple, healthy snack. So, all right, Colt. Well, this has been an amazing discussion. I think my biggest takeaway is, first and foremost, Red Gold is much more than I even realized prior to this discussion, listening to you talk and all this amazing product innovation and these different, the partnerships that you have with your licensed product with the Sriracha line. And then you have the, the Tuderosa line. I had no idea it was the number one Italian tomato line in America. That's huge. And I also did not realize that you guys were the only ketchup that can claim it is American owned, grown, and made. So I have a lot of takeaways when I look back on our conversation, but what's one thing you really want our listeners to know?
I think a lot of people don't realize we're from Indiana, which we don't do a whole lot of marketing in Indiana just because we do have a large share here. We haven't forgotten about Indiana, obviously. It's very important to us. Our Indiana roots mean everything to us. It would be nice, if somehow the world knew, more about Indiana and our roots here. But maybe the takeaway would be just how hard our employees worked during this event and what it's taken, to be to rise to the occasion. Because I know we're all tired and we're all just still really proud, I guess, of all the work we put in.
Yeah. And that goes without saying. Here you are in a position where you're not necessarily, you're definitely not in a tomato shortage situation. And you are definitely in a position where you can service these new orders that are coming your way and new opportunities. And I have a lot of pride listening back on this episode, and I'm very glad that an Indiana company is leading the way. So, Colt, it's been a true pleasure having you on our show and as our guest. I've learned a lot, and I want all of our listeners to understand that there is no ketchup shortage. And when you look for that Red Gold brand or any of the other brands under the Red Gold portfolio, you are supporting a family brand, a family owned business and brand that's been around since, 1942. Right. That's amazing. So with that, Colt, I thank you so much for being our guest today. We have a tradition. Our guests always get the final words. Folks, if you want to learn more about Red Gold, please visit redgoldtomatoes.com. And Colt, with that, you get the final word and the closing remarks.
One thing we didn't talk about was that our Red Gold ketchup is partnered with Folds of Honor. And so be sure, if you don't know what that is, it gives, for every bottle purchased, proceeds go towards Folds of Honor, which gives scholarships to families who had loved ones fall in combat or, get really injured. So it's a really great cause. It's on the majority of our Ketchup products. So check it out.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to Lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.